Now we'll take a look at Modiano's English as an international language model. The criticism that the first model presented by Modiano had received, um, he redrafted his model and presented, in fact, more than redrafting, he presented another model. We have just discussed that the centripetal circle model had raised certain questions, and those questions were unanswered. Therefore, Modiano presented another model, which was based on the idea of English as an international language. This model did not use proficiency of the speaker as its major theme or major concept, but used certain features of the English language which are common to many varieties. So, if you look at this picture of the model, we have English as an international language at the center. And by English as an international language, Modiano meant that the varieties of English which have different features in common. Because of these common features, mutual intelligibility is increased. At the center of his model, he has varieties which are mutually intelligible because they have certain common linguistic features. The center is followed by a circle in which he has put what he calls the features which may or may not continue to be used. So it is the features which are in use by certain varieties, in use in certain varieties at the moment, but we cannot be sure whether they'll continue to be used or will fall into obscurity. For this reason, that he has not included those features or the varieties which have those common features in the English as an international language, which is the core of this model. This circle is then followed by several other circles, in fact, 5 different circles, which represent major varieties of English, for example, Canadian English, Australian English, New Zealand English, South African English. Then we have a circle which represents British English. Then we have a circle which represents other varieties of English, and then another circle which represents foreign language speakers, and finally a circle which stands for American English. So we see again that this is a very democratic kind of a model. We have American, British English at the same position as foreign language speakers. Let's quickly recap what we have just discussed in the picture. The center of this model comprises English as an international language, which consists of a core of common features in different varieties, followed by and because of these common features, these varieties become mutually intelligible. The second circle consists of features which may or may not continue to be used, and then we have an area which comprises 5 different circles representing different varieties of English, including American English, British English, other major varieties of English, other local varieties of English, and finally, English as a foreign language speakers. Although this again seems to be a democratic kind of model, as we have just said, it still has certain weaknesses. One weakness that it has, the most noticeable weakness that it has, is the difficulty of distinguishing between core and non-core features of the language. Now, who decides or how do we determine the core features of English and non-core features of English, and also what features are considered core in a particular context, etc.? Another weakness that this model has is that it equates native speakers of English with competent non-native speakers. So no matter how broad-minded we are and how much we believe in inclusiveness, etc., we do know that this is not the case. For example, you cannot really compare native speakers with non-native speakers. Generally, there may be some who are comparable to some extent, but we cannot put them in the same category. Then another weakness that it has is labeling native varieties as major varieties, which is a little paradoxical. That on one hand, it gives almost the same status to English as a foreign language speakers and English, native English speaking, native English varieties, and it labels native varieties as major, but the other established outer circle varieties, for example, Indian English, as a local variety, so which may be a little offensive. But all said and done, this model, or in fact, both of Modiano's models have many strengths. One is that it completely disapproves this idea of prestige and considering native English superior to all the other Englishes. These models have other concepts as central to its structure, central to its making. So this model cares for diversity. It embraces the diversity that we have in the world, the cultural diversity, and it embraces that diversity and establishes English or the discusses the spread of English in the light of the diversity that we have in the use of English in the world today. This model also shows this understanding of this geopolitical reality of the use of English, that we cannot insist on using the native variety as the standard variety. It is impractical to insist on the native English as the standard English because of several realities of the use of English. It's spread in far and wide areas and it's used for scores of purposes. This model also focuses on proficiency. It gives importance to the use of English as a globally functioning language. It does not give importance at all. It does not give central position to other factors. For example, the origin, whether the English that a person is using or the English that originates from the native English speaking countries or the race of the people who use that language. So this model has central to its structure the globally functioning character of English or the use of English as a language which is performing a global function for a large number of countries.